Hey there. Let's talk about using your Raspberry Pi as a Wi-Fi repeater, Wi-Fi extender, just to help make the Wi-Fi signals a lot better in your home. So for starters, I just want to make a disclaimer. It's actually a lot cheaper and easier to just go to the store and buy a Wi-Fi repeater. But if you're like me and you like to do everything yourself the hard way because it's brain exercise and fun, why bother driving down to the store when you can stay inside all day long and do it yourself? So I'm using an old Raspberry Pi that I found in a drawer. This is like a Raspberry Pi 4. It's not really that old. After I do this video, I'm going to do the same thing with the Raspberry Pi 3, which I think should probably also work. And I was about to throw this Pi 4 away, and then I realized I could turn it into a repeater, so it actually did save me money in the end. Let me just talk about your prerequisites real fast, what you actually need. You obviously need a Pi, and like the power and all that stuff. You need an SD card so that you can write an operating system to the Pi. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you already know that. But the major thing that you actually need, that you probably don't have yet, is you need an extra radio. You need an extra Wi-Fi adapter for your Pi, because the Pi by itself only has one built-in radio antenna, Wi-Fi adapter, Wi-Fi card. But you need two, because one is going to connect to your existing router, your existing Wi-Fi access point, and then the second one is going to become its own access point so other clients can connect to it. Let me kind of show you a plan of what I'm talking about here. I made a crappy diagram. I hope you like it. I'm not very good at these things. But if you kind of look on the screen right now, you can see that this is the situation before you add some sort of a Wi-Fi repeater or the Pi repeater. So this was what was happening to me. Spoiler, I already did this, so I kind of remember how to get this working pretty quick. So I have like a wireless router here, and it's also the regular router, and it's connected to the modem and stuff. And the devices that are close to the router get lots of fast, good connection. But the devices that are kind of far away, like way over here in the back, maybe like a server, a printer, another laptop, a phone, whatever, they lose connection. They have slow speeds. They're spotty. They're frustrating, right? I think probably most of you deal with this. So a wireless repeater or the Pi that we're going to do right now is going to solve the problem, at least hopefully. Or mostly, I don't know. So I'm going to show you a diagram of what it'll be like when we're finished. We're actually going to create a second network. Notice how on the first slide, I already lost it. Let me do. Yeah, notice how on the first slide, we just had one network here. For my personal network, this is just 192.168.1. something, and then that /24 means the last number is able to change. We usually call this a subnet. Honestly, this is not smart to have a standard subnet in your home network, but I'm kind of lazy. Maybe I should change that soon. You should know in advance, this is part of your preparation and research. You should know what is the IP address of your router, your existing router. You should know the existing subnet that you're running on. If you don't, this is going to be extremely hard for you to do. Most people, though, if you just get a router and install it, it's either going to be a 1 right here or a 0 right here. Very rarely will I see people with like a 10.0.0. something, and if they do, somebody else in their family or business set it up for them already. So we start off with only one subnet, one network. All the devices can talk to each other without, all the LAN devices can talk to each other without routing. When we're done, we'll end up having two networks. So just notice real fast again, this is the initial network. This is the thing that we had before, 192.168.1. something. And then these close devices, they're still going to connect to the router. Notice how this green line right here, it's not, or sorry, this blue line, it still connects. Well, no, it doesn't. I'm totally lying. Oh, no, I am not lying. I lied about lying. Basically, the router is connected still to the original devices that were fast on the router. So there's no reason to move devices that didn't have a problem. But notice here, instead of having one long blue line going all the way to the devices in the back, this blue like connection squiggly image, it goes to an antenna, which is going to be the internal radio of the Raspberry Pi. And then the Raspberry Pi will have a second antenna that's going to be one of these things. I'll show you how to install this and all that stuff in another video. I'll talk about it. That second radio is going to connect and be an access point to all the other devices that are far away. And if we're lucky, what'll happen is the signal won't get too bad by the time it hits the Pi. It'll probably be like, hopefully okay, kind of fast, not too spotty. At least, not as spotty and bad as it was going all the way to the devices in the back. And then because this is digital, the Pi is going to actually repeat the signal out on the second antenna from scratch. Like it's going to give a fresh signal. It's going to be the same data, but it'll be, renewed, repowered. So if you think about it, that's kind of like having the wireless router a lot closer to the devices in the back. So if we're lucky, then the devices in the back will have a much easier time connecting. So, and getting speed and being reliable and all that stuff. The only thing that we really need to deal with, though, is in order to do this, we have to create a second subnet. So at the very end of this video, we'll talk about routing, and we'll just do a couple of commands to make sure that the devices in the regular part of your LAN network can actually reach and connect to and talk to the devices at the very end. We'll add a static route to make sure that these two subnets can talk, because by default they wouldn't be able to talk to each other. If you don't really need them to talk, like let's say I don't know, maybe these devices in the back, maybe they're just like your phone or a computer that you only surf on or something like that, then you don't really need a route if you're not going to connect to one of those devices in the back as a server or something. So, but that's what I like to do, so we're going to do that also. So the first step, let's see, I think the first step, before we get the Pi started, we need to talk about your plan. So what is your plan? We're going to, what happened there? There we go, okay. We're going to plan what IP addresses the Pi will have when we're totally done. You have to do this in advance, right? So we already talked about, you have to identify what is your main subnet. Yours might not be the same as mine. And then we have to identify, or not identify, we have to choose what the repeater subnet is going to be. If you don't have more than one subnet, if you don't even know what I'm talking about, you could probably just choose any number you want. For me, I chose 192.168.5.0. Keep in mind, you probably want to have the first two numbers the same, unless you're in some sort of a special setup. There are numbers that you can use that are not that, but this is just easier and more common. So for me, I just chose to change that third number from a 1 to a 5, indicating there's like now a .5 something subnet. Remember that this /24 means that only the last number can change for communication to work without routing. So that means I don't really want to interfere with my existing subnet. If I did, you would probably mysteriously continually lose connection while you're trying to set this up, and then later when it's working. So just take it from me, it's more trouble than it's worth. So just come up with a new subnet. If you're thinking about doing bridged networking, you can't really do that with a wireless radio that is connected in client mode. I already tried that, it didn't work. So, for me, I just had to make another subnet. So write down whatever you decide as your other subnet, walk around and make sure that it doesn't exist, look in your router. So this is the IP for my router, at least right now, and you should determine what your router IP is. And then you have to come up with 3 IP addresses for the new Raspberry Pi setup. So the first IP address is going to be, what are we going to assign to the Ethernet port? I said originally this is just going to be, a Wi-Fi repeater, so we're not really going to use Ethernet, except at the beginning when we're setting everything up. It's going to be much more convenient to be able to connect to the Pi. Me, when I was practicing this yesterday, I kept screwing up the wireless settings, and if I had not set up the Ethernet port in advance, I would have been locked out of the Pi. I would have had to restart it and then hope for the best, or maybe rewrite the whole card. So, once you get the Ethernet port working and you can connect to it, it makes things a little bit easier if you should screw up the wireless. So then come up with an IP address for the built-in radio, the one that's going to connect as a client to your existing network. For me, I chose 147, and then obviously for the Ethernet 123. Then you have to come up with an IP address for the second radio on your Pi, the antenna that's going to become an access point. It should be on the new subnet. So whatever you choose up here, 5.0/24, that means 5. Something is valid. I just chose 5.1 because it's kind of a common thing that the gateway that is sort of like handling traffic for other machines, which is what the antenna is going to do, it ends in a 1. So I'm just going to choose 5.1 because that's kind of a standard gateway thing. And now that I have all my IP addresses ready, I'm going to start installing the Pi. So the first thing that you want to do to get ready to install the Pi 12 minutes, that's not too bad. I tend to talk a lot. I gotta chill, you know? I gotta chill. Is you probably want to go to the Raspberry Pi website. So I'm going to go raspberrypi.com. What is this new stuff? I got to set up Firefox. Raspberry Pi, the foundation, it's got like an org and a com. I think org is like more for community stuff. So go to raspberrypi.com, click on software, and let's see. So you could use the imager if you want to. I'm not going to show you how in this video. I like to do everything manually. What we're going to do is download an image of the Raspberry Pi operating system and then burn that to the SD card for the Raspberry Pi. So again, you know, if you don't want to do it this way, you can do it whatever way you know how. You just need to install the OS basically. If you're interested, leave a comment. I am thinking about making future videos where I explain how to do this from Windows. But I'm in Linux right now, so I'm just going to use Linux to do it. I'm on the Raspberry Pi 4, which supports the 64-bit operating system. You should use that if your Pi supports it. On my Pi 3, I'm only 70% sure that it supports the 64-bit operating system. I haven't like fully explored it yet, although it did run. I don't know if anything was broken, but I'm just going to click on the 64-bit operating system. So you click that. Then you have, you know, choices like not flavors, but like levels of stuff that comes pre-installed. So the 64-bit, double check that. Raspberry Pi OS, double check that, yeah. With a desktop, we don't need a desktop for our repeater. Desktop with recommended software, we don't need that. We need the light version. That's the leanest, meanest version that is the easiest and fastest to download and install. So click that download button. And what'll happen is you'll end up with an XZ. Yeah, let me copy that link real fast. You'll end up with an XZ extension when you download it. Notice how it says, you know, ARM64 light image.xz. That just means the image is zipped up so that it's faster to download. If you had something that was like that ended in a gzip extension, then on the command line, you would say g unzip, and then you would do, you know, the file name .gzip or whatever it was. Since we're using XZ, I think it's unXZ as far as I recall. Let me open up a terminal real fast, and I'm going to go into my downloads. And then another disclaimer, I'm not really going to show you the basics of using a terminal or SSH. I have already talked about that in other videos. Definitely command line basics. I think maybe soon I'm going to post an SSH tutorial. So if you're like on Windows and you want to be able to connect or do command line stuff, just basically see my other videos. By the time you find this one, there'll probably be a lot others that are up. So I'm going to go into downloads here and go into my ISO folder. I just like to keep things organized. So let's see, unxz. Yeah, that's what I originally did. So that's the command to unzip an XZ zipped image file. So now I just have regular .image. I don't need to unzip it, is what I'm saying. So I would have done, if you don't have XZ, you can do apt search XZ on your computer. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's XZ utils that'll allow you to unzip. So anyway, the next thing that I really need to do now that I have the image is I need to burn it to an SD card. And then I need to modify it for first boot, which I think I will do in another video that I'll link here or mention here. So again, what am I doing? I have like an SD card. It's like a really, you know, small micro SD card for the Raspberry Pi. And then I have a little SD card reader and writer. So I'm just going to, this is the first time I've used this one. I have a really cheap one behind me. That sucks. And I'm hoping this will be faster. So I'm just going to stick it in. And then, so now the card is on USB. So then I'm just going to go plug this in. And, oh, hang on, before you plug it in, I almost forgot. You don't have to do this, but it's kind of a good idea. It makes it more convenient. I'm going to use a program called PartEd to see what like disks and partitions and drives and things I have available in the system. So sudo parted, if you don't have that installed, it's sudo apt install parted. I'm going to say print devices, and notice how it just shows only one disk. This is a virtual disk because I'm actually in a VM right now. So now that I know what disks are currently in the machine, it'll be easier to see what disk just got added. So I'm going to like push this in here. Oh, I saw a spark. No, that was a light. I'm going to wait a second, and then I'm just going to very quickly try to tell my my host machine to give that USB device to the machine that you're looking at right now. So you don't have to worry about doing this. Genesis Logic Reader and Writer, the cheapest thing I could possibly find. I don't know, it seems okay though. It was a choice on the shopping website that I went to. Okay, so I mean this proves that it worked. I get annoying pop-ups because basically I have like another operating system already on that card. So if you get these pop-ups because you had something on the card before, you probably want to unmount the card before you continue. So we know now that the card is showing up as dev SDB. Got to remember that. And before I continue, I'm going to unmount. So you want to go mount. This is Linux again, by the way. And I'm going to, mount and pattern match it by SDB. And those are the two mounts that I have. So I'm going to just sudo umount just to get rid of that. Because if you try to modify a card that is currently mounted, or a partition or a drive or something that is currently mounted, you'll probably end up corrupting a bunch of data. So you don't want to do that. Mount pattern matching against SDB. So now it's unmounted. I don't know if this is 100% safe at this point, but this is what I do. So hopefully it's okay. Just print the devices again to make sure it didn't disappear. If it did disappear, you probably have to like unplug it and replug it, or maybe reboot the computer because you used the wrong command, or you clicked the eject button or something. So now I'm going to write that image directly to the card. So I'm going to say sudo dd. So this is the program that I use for writing images to disks and cards and copying files and stuff like that. It's really cool and fast and versatile, but be very careful because you could actually destroy your entire computer with this command. So what am I talking about? So you have to specify the in file, and that's pretty easy. If you get it wrong, it doesn't really matter. So I'm specifying the in file as that image that I just downloaded. Then I'm going to specify the out file, and this is where it gets super dangerous. You have to double and triple check that you're typing the correct device and you're typing the device correctly. So I'm literally going to look at it like 5 times and go, out file, dev SDB, print devices, dev SDB. The dev SDB has the right size. It's a 64 gigabyte SD card. There's nothing else except for okay, you got to be paranoid because I've done this one time in my life. I used the wrong out file and I basically watched my computer destroy itself in front of my face. And a little tear went down my cheek slowly. Anyway, so then the other thing that I usually like to put on here is conv fsync. I don't know if this is required for SD cards, but it's usually a good idea because it'll basically force syncing of the file. Because like, for example, if you have a USB thumb drive and you use DD to write data to the file, the thumb drive sometimes lies to you and tells you that data is written even though it hasn't been written, because the thumb drive is trying to appear faster than it really is. So if you just kind of notice that the command is finished and you pull out the thumb drive, you might have corrupted data because it didn't actually finish writing. So I use conv fsync to try to avoid that. And then I'm going to do status equals progress. So I can just kind of see what's going on. Okay, so let's see, double check FSDB, and then it's all plugged in, everything's good. Okay, wish me luck. Then again, this is why I'm in a virtual machine. If this gets destroyed, I don't really care as much. Okay, it's going incredibly slowly. Just as slow as my old slow card reader. That sucks. Maybe the problem is my hypervisor then, going from this host machine to my virtual machine. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to cut the video for a second here, and hopefully you've gotten this far with me and you're ready to go to the next step. Just maybe pause the video while yours is writing to the Pi, and I'll turn off my video now. I'll come back as soon as it's finished, and then we'll continue. We'll do first boot on the Raspberry Pi. Be right back. Hey everybody. Thanks for watching this video again. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. I do hope you did learn something and have some fun. If you could do me a small little favor, could you please subscribe and follow this channel or these videos or whatever it is you do on the current social media website that you're looking at right now. It would really mean the world to me, and it'll help make more videos and grow this community, so we'll be able to do more videos, longer videos, better videos, or just I'll be able to keep making videos in general. So please do me a kindness and subscribe. Sometimes I'm sleeping in the middle of the night and I just wake up because I know somebody subscribed or followed. It just wakes me up and I get filled with joy. That's exactly what happens every single time. So you could do it as a nice favor to me, or you could You could troll me if you want to just wake me up in the middle of the night. Just subscribe, and then I'll just wake up. I promise that's what will happen. Also, if you look at the middle of the screen right now, you should see a QR code which you can scan in order to go to the website, which I think is also named somewhere at the bottom of this video. And it'll take you to my main website where you can just kind of like see all the videos I published and the services and tutorials and things that I offer and all that good stuff. And if you have a suggestion for clarifications or errata or just future videos that you want to see, please leave a comment. Or if you just want to say, hey, what's up? What's going on? You know, just send me a comment, whatever. I also wake up for those in the middle of the night. I wake up in a cold sweat and I'm like, it would really mean the world to me. I would really appreciate it. So again, thank you so much for watching this video, and enjoy the cool music as I fade into the darkness, which is coming for us all.